Today I'm going to break down this painting. I'm not only going to show you how I did it, but I'm also going to talk about some of the things I learned in the process and even the parts that maybe I'm not so fond of. Welcome everybody. This is Says Create. Okay, let's jump right into our supplies. When I use alcohol ink, I always use a ventilator mask because the fumes are quite strong. I also have recently started using these grubby goggles. They're not perfect, but they help a little bit for my eyes. I use isopropyl alcohol, 99%. That's what you see in this little bottle when I'm applying it to the paper. I also use this little dust blower, which I love because it stands up. I use this blow dryer. It has no attachments on it to blow the inks around. It's very handy. And this paper. This is just synthetic paper by Molly's. I will link that in my description. And of course, we cannot forget our alcohol inks. I usually choose mine using my swatches. Here I'm only picking out 2 different inks because I actually tried doing this painting one time and it didn't turn out. This is the sped up version of it, and this is how it turned out. It's so ugly. What do you have to say for yourself? Nothing. That's what I thought. Get out of here. So how about we start over and let's add some blue this time. Here you can see me starting off by laying down a good amount of alcohol. As I work more with this paper, I do find it stains a bit, so applying alcohol first helps alleviate some of the staining. When I've added a couple drops of ink, I start rocking it back and forth. I wanted the colors to blend and lighten, kind of create a general gradient that one might see even in the sky, which you're going to see more of that in a bit when I add the blues. So this is completely different from the previous background I did, where I spent more time blowing out the inks with the dust blower, and that's totally fine. Blowing the inks out in different ways, that's how you learn different methods. For what I was going for, that didn't go. And maybe you're wondering what happened to that other picture. Actually, save yourself some money and just use the other side of your paper like I've done here. So here you can see I started to add in some diluted inks, just diluted with the alcohol, and adding in the blues. So what I learned from this part, doing the background, is that actually I don't need to use my dust blower a lot. Just rocking it back and forth. I know I keep saying that, but it looks really good. It gave me a really good effect for what I'm trying to achieve, which is a landscape type picture. I want the sky, again, to be blended and looking like a sky, right? So the other thing I learned, or maybe I should say that I finally figured out, was how to get the lines in the ink. Now, any of you alcohol ink enthusiasts watching this know exactly what I'm talking about. It's creating these rippled lines effect. I'm not saying that very clear, but it looks really neat. If you're doing flower petals, if you're doing an abstract piece, it can be very, very cool looking. And for what I was doing here, it worked really well. It was a good opportunity to practice, but you'll later see when I apply my acrylic paint, it kind of covers it up. But again, I was just happy to finally figure that out. All right, so now let's skip ahead to the part where I add in my metallic gold. I'm using Rich Gold by Jacquard. It's a very good metallic. I recommend it for anybody. Actually, the more popular color is the one, it's called Brass. I wish I could get that one. I haven't gotten it quite yet. Anyways, again, I have diluted this metallic with just 99% isopropyl alcohol. If you don't dilute your metallics before you apply them, depending on what brand you're using, of course, it will really stick to your paper. I even notice it on my ceramics. So that's a little suggestion, always dilute. It's even diluted in my bottle, like from the original packaging. So yeah, I just wanted to add in some extra pizzazz in the front, and that about finishes off this stage of the painting. So the next part is going to require some different supplies. We're going to use an array of acrylic paints and of course some paintbrushes. So as we carry on, I'm first going to get my horizon set, and I don't know, it was very last minute. I started adding in kind of a shadowy effect of a tree line in the back. I wasn't planning on doing this, but it felt right at the time. That's how it is when you're painting. At least it is definitely how it is painting for me. I'm always changing what my plan is. I don't know if that's a good thing or not. So I just went with it. And in the end, I think it turned out okay. So after I get a bit of a horizon, then I start to add my pine trees. This is my favorite part. I really have been enjoying, maybe mildly addicted to painting pine trees these days. I promise I will have different content in my videos, I promise. But right now, this is what I'm into, so that's what you get. So I always start with painting the trunk of the tree and some very fine branches. The biggest thing to remember when you're painting trees, when you're painting most things in nature, not everything, to be clear, but most things, is you want to be a little bit more random. If you look at a tree, the branches are not coming out equally, at least not so much on a pine tree. So be a little bit sporadic, a little bit random, and draw out some branches. It doesn't actually matter too much because they get covered up, but you do want a general randomness in there. Next, you're going to want to add your pine needles. Now, I usually break it into 3 parts. I start with my darkest shadowy background needles, and then I do a mid-tone, and then I do a light tone. Going through with your darker colors, you definitely want to make sure you leave some spaces so you can see a peak of a branch or a peak of a trunk. It will definitely make it more realistic. Again, depending on what type of tree you're painting. But that's my general rule. So something to keep in mind as you're layering the paint, you don't want to completely cover what you've already put down. Mind you, you end up covering quite a bit, but not all of it. So you should still be able to see some of the darker paint as you move along, and just adding bits and pieces of the lighter color where the light might naturally hit. So again, I try to envision that there's a sun shining. Where would the brightest part of the tree be? And that is where I will add the lightest colors of paint. I'm just playing around though at the same time. I try to follow these rules, but most of the time I'm just having fun. And if I think it looks good, then I go with it. Like, most trees are not turquoise or aqua, whatever color it is that I'm adding in. But hey, I think it looks really good, so I added it in. With your paintings, also, just have fun. Try different colors, try different methods, and if you like it, that's what matters. After I got my trees looking to where I liked them, I thought that I was done. This is an ongoing thing with me. I always think I'm done, but I'm not actually done. I went ahead and I added some more inks in the foreground. Please forgive me, I didn't record that part. You didn't miss out on much. All I did was the same method I did from the beginning, just adding extra inks and rocking it back and forth. I used quite a bit of gold and quite a bit of the gray color. So there you have it. That's the end painting. Did everything go really smooth? Not necessarily. I wasn't planning on having the color come all the way to the front of the page, but in the end, I actually quite like it. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope you stay tuned because I have more things that I want to show you.